Pat Daniel with the Sports Talk Media Network with Sports Talk from the Stadium presented to you by the South Carolina Beef Council. And tonight it was a bit of a beatdown in Death Valley as the Clemson Tigers beat Miami 40-10. It was the second straight game where the opening drive for the Tigers included multiple deep shots by DJ Uiagalelei. Personal opinion, seems almost like it's to get DJ going, just to get him more confident going into the game. Opposite approach of what happened in the Notre Dame game, of course, where the blocked punt led to a touchdown for Notre Dame. Tigers never recovered. We've now seen back-to-back games where Streeter has been aggressive with the play calling on the opening drive, seemingly trying to get his quarterback more confident. He had deep shots to both Ngata and Antonio Williams before connecting with his tight end, Davis Allen, for a touchdown to cap off the drive. On the next drive for the Tigers, DJ had a touchdown run, and he mentioned to us last game that he likes to get hit early. It kind of gets the juices flowing, really gets him more into the ball game. Clemson's offense continued to be aggressive throughout the first half, building a 24-0 halftime lead, finishing with a field goal as time expired at the end of the half. This was also the second straight game where the defense was very aggressive. Aggression was probably the word of the day, or the name of the game here today for the Tigers. We have seen a different ball club ever since that beatdown up in South Bend. Wes Goodwin, I hope this comes across correctly. I don't know if he was timid earlier in the season, but he seems almost like he's come out of his shell a bit and is much more energetic, much more aggressive with his play calling. It seems almost like his defense is swirling and flying all around the field. They have their ears pinned back, a lot of gang tackling as opposed to solo tackles, and just constant pressure. Today they had 5 sacks along with 7 tackles for loss, and they forced 2 turnovers, an interception and a fumble. From a passing standpoint, DJ Uiagalelei was 22 of 34 on the day for 227 yards with 2 touchdowns along with 1 interception, but the pick was not his fault. The receiver simply stopped running the route. DJ also added 17 carries for a career-high 89 yards on the ground, along with 1 touchdown that came on the second drive of the game for the Tigers. And then for the wide receivers, 12 different Tiger receivers made catches today. But the tight ends really stood out. Of the 24 completions in the game, 8 of those went to 3 different tight ends. Davis Allen, Jake Briningstool, and Luke Price combined for 8 catches for 95 yards and 2 touchdowns, 1 for Davis Allen, 1 for senior Luke Price. On senior day, it was fitting that he got his first career touchdown. Let's see. Also, the middle of the field was seemingly wide open all day. Miami plays a 2-back defense, and they seem to leave open pockets about 5 to 12 yards downfield, and Clemson was running quick slants and hitting those open spots, in particular with the tight ends, and DJ was hitting them constantly all day long. He missed on 1 late in the game that would have been another walk-in touchdown for Davis Allen. But overall, the tight ends did a phenomenal job. Let's see. From a running back standpoint, Will Shipley had 17 carries for 61 yards and a touchdown. Kobe Pace returned after being out for a while with injury. He had 7 yards, but a modest 7 yards, but he had a touchdown there at the end. So that had to feel good to get back on the scoreboard for him, and he certainly is going to try to shake the rust off and be a contributor for the last couple of games of the season. Again, the name of the game today was aggression. It was all about, in all 3 phases of the game, offense, defense, special teams, the Tigers were aggressive all game long, both with their play calling and from a playing standpoint from the actual players. The offense started sharp and aggressive and finished 6 of 6 in the red zone and 14 of 19 on third down. Dabo made it a point of emphasis after the game to repeat that multiple times, that the offense was 14 for 19 on third down. And if you can do that consistently, it's going to be tough for your offense to get stopped. The team, on a negative side, though, the team did have 5 fumbles on the day, losing 2 of them, along with 1 interception. Again, that was more the receiver's fault for stopping his route as opposed to DJ. I want to make sure we don't get too much blame there. But you're not going to win very many games with that many turnovers. And this now makes 12 in the last 4 games for the Tigers. They are now -1 with the turnover differential on the season after starting the season significantly on the positive side. Some good things to say about DJ on the day, too. He was quick. He was decisive with the football, either throwing quick or tucking the ball and running. Dabo said post-game that DJ was great, but still left some points out on the field. But from the press box, it seemed like a lot of us kept pointing out just how decisive DJ was. That has been a complaint against him for a couple of years now, is that he tends to hold on to the ball a little too long. He doesn't just get rid of the ball, and then it leads to too many sacks. He was sacked twice on the day, but overall, his decision-making was far better than it's been. It seems as though he's been working really hard on that in practice. It has been a point of emphasis. Got to give credit to both DJ and offensive coordinator Brandon Streeter there. From a defensive standpoint, they held Miami to 98 total yards on the day, which is unheard of. I believe that's the first time I've ever in person seen a Power 5 offense get held to under 100 yards offense. Late in the fourth quarter, they did surpass 100 before a late sack brought them back down under that triple-digit threshold. Ooh, the lights changing behind me. Also, Miami only ran 42 plays. They had 2 turnovers, 1 fumble, 1 interception. And then the defense for Clemson also recorded 5 sacks along with 7 tackles for loss. They seemingly were living in the backfield. They looked like they could have easily had another 3 or 4 sacks on top of the 5 they did have. Jeremiah Trotter Jr. led the way with 9 tackles and a sack. I need to correct myself. I sent out a tweet. I corrected it right after but did not delete it. There was a targeting call. He hit a quarterback late, got a personal foul in the third quarter. Referees reviewed it, but the ref never actually came onto the field to announce the decision. But on the stat broadcast, it showed the decision was upheld. So I mistakenly thought that he had been ejected from the game. He then missed the next 2 drives, which were quick 3 and outs by Miami, but he did return to the game. So he will not be suspended for the first half of the rivalry game next weekend. He was not removed from the game for targeting. The penalty stood, but the targeting was taken away. KJ Henry had 3 tackles and 1 sack, and he seemed to be living in the backfield throughout the game as well. Trenton Simpson had 2 sacks along with a forced fumble, and then Jalen Phillips added an interception. Jeremiah Trotter also added post-game that Coach Goodwin has been emphasizing playing more freely and more aggressive and with just constant speed on defense. He also notes that practices have been far more intense and physical ever since that loss at Notre Dame. I asked him the question just about if that's been a point of emphasis, and he just kind of smiled and said, yes, absolutely. Didn't want to push the envelope and ask where that was the first half of the season, but either way, this defense is just flying around the field at this point. Also, admittedly, you got to point out that this Miami offense was playing with a backup quarterback. They do have speed all over the place. That's one thing you can always count on from a Miami squad, is that they do have athletes, but there was a significant drop-off in quarterback play, I believe. So we got to at least make sure to point that out. And then lastly, Dabo said post-game that defensive tackle Brian Brzee, who missed today's game, he was out with strep throat. He was hoping that maybe he would have been better today, but just still was not able to go. And after not practicing, they just didn't feel the need to put him out there. But he should be good to go next week against South Carolina. Just a few other thoughts on the game. Again, the defense and the offense both just seem to be playing with a sense of freedom that they maybe did not have earlier in the year. Now, keep in mind, there are new coordinators this year, both on the offensive and defensive side of the ball. This is not anything they've said, just my own personal opinion. Can't help but wonder if maybe they were overthinking things a bit at times, and now it just seems like the play calling is much smoother, it's much faster, both getting from the sideline to the huddle, but also just once the flow of the plays itself, it just feels like the offense and the defense are both flowing a lot more smoothly. They're operating faster than they were earlier in the season. So got to give credit there. It has been a bit of a work in progress, but they seem to be peaking at the right time. Other notes, Dabo said after the game that he was proud of the team. He was proud of all his seniors. His son, who's a senior this year, recorded a catch right at the end. Did not quite get into the end zone. I believe he was tackled at the 1-yard line before. Yeah, Kobe Pace then punched it in from the 1-yard line on the next play. But he could not say enough nice things about all his upperclassmen, all his seniors, and the success they have had here at their time in Clemson. Clemson continues that long home winning streak now and have a matchup next week against the South Carolina Gamecocks, who, well, it's on a commercial break, but last I looked, it was, I believe, 42 to 27 or 8. Either way, it was 42-31 Gamecocks in the third quarter. So as of right now, they are leading the number 5 team in the country, the Tennessee Volunteers. And that certainly would give the Gamecocks a lot of confidence, regardless of how that game finishes, coming up here to face the Tigers next week, hoping to stop a 7-game win streak for the Tigers in the rivalry. The Tigers, on the other hand, look to continue their winning ways against the Gamecocks and continue pursuing an outside shot at the college football playoff. They'll need some help ahead of them moving forward, but if they keep winning, Dabo keeps just preaching about taking care of your business, not worrying about anybody else, and Clemson still hopes to favorably finish their season. North Carolina, that Clemson will face in the ACC Championship in a few weeks, lost today in surprising fashion, lost to Georgia Tech. That caught a lot of us off guard. Perhaps the Tar Heels were looking ahead, not sure, but Georgia Tech just got their teeth kicked in last week by Miami and then turned around this week and was able to upset the Tar Heels. Again, this is Sports Talk from the stadium presented by the South Carolina Beef Council, and this is Pat Daniel from Death Valley, where the Clemson Tigers beat the Miami Hurricanes 40-10.